Hello, dear friends of GP Roundtable. Welcome to you to this new episode with Manuel Pesino from Spain. Good morning.
Hola, everybody.
Michel Turco from France. Good morning, Michel.
Ciao, guys. Ciao a tutti.
Ciao, and Giovanni Zamagni from Italy. Ciao, Joe.
Ciao a tutti da Milano.
As we are waiting for Matt Oxley to connect to this episode, we please welcome Mr. Romano Albesiano, Technical Director of Aprilia Racing. Good morning, Mr. Albesiano. How are you doing?
Perfectly. Good morning, everybody.
Ready to leave for Misano test. So you're in a hurry. That's why we start immediately with the questions of my friends, starting with Michel. Please, Michel.
Okay, so Romano, to start general matters, we know that the car industry is much affected by the economic crisis linked to the COVID. How do you see the situation of the bike industry, and what could be the consequences for Aprilia?
Well, there are companies that are almost benefiting from this situation, like we have seen high-tech companies and also companies that work in the mobility business. For example, Piaggio stock value has rebounded in a very important way because the opportunity for this kind of industry is huge in a world where the mobility in the public transportation is a little bit scaring people in this period. So it's a good opportunity for the two-wheeler, especially for what concerns the mobility, the commuting. So like in Italy, there has been a boom in the bicycle business and also in the scooter business. So for our company, of course, it's not been easy, but the perspectives are very good.
Romano, I wanted I wanted to ask you something about the test of tomorrow and 3 days of test in Misano with Ducati, KTM, and Suzuki, I think. I wanted to know how much is important for you this test, what you will test, and what you can say to us about this test.
Well, it's a very important test because you can imagine after a month of a stop and everything has to be restarted, starting from the riders. And also the mechanism inside the teams have to be restarted. We had just started a deep reorganization of our activity in-house and on track. We have many new people on track, new technicians in some key roles. We had just a couple of tests before the stop, so we have to restart all these functions. So it's a very important test from a technical point of view because we have to check a lot of things, but also for the mechanism inside the teams. So it's a very not critical, but very important for us.
Manuel.
Yes, Romano, I have your project, your MotoGP project is basically the latest one in the championship. So I suppose that it is also the most modern one because you have the freshest ideas. What is special in Aprilia's new MotoGP project, and which are where you have drunk the ideas? I mean, where did you get the ideas?
Well, we got the ideas from the experience of these seasons from the 2016 to 19. So we explored the limits of the technical solution that we have been using, which was quite peculiar. No? We had this narrow VE configuration. We were the only one using this configuration, which has some good advantages and some limitations. So after 4 years of using this configuration, we decided to switch to some more let's say, conventional configuration, which allows us to experience different firing order layout of the engines, easier to use engine brake valve system, because in general we have found that the entry phase of our bike was the biggest limit of for our performance. So we decided to move to this new engine, partially because we wanted to use the exhaust valve in a better way. Many things. We just had two tests. The feeling of the rider and also the performance of the ride was very good, but it was just two tests. And we really need to confirm this to also honestly to understand better why this feeling was so much better than with the previous bike. So we had some positive surprises. But we need to have the full understanding of why we have this super good feeling from the riders.
Romano, sorry, I don't expect you to tell me if there is a secret, but do you think you have something peculiar on your bike that the rest don't have?
I don't think MotoGP is a matter of having the most strange thing to make the competitivity. I think the performance comes from the balance of every aspect and the excellence in every aspect. The secret weapon is not the key. At the moment, we don't have the secret weapon. We are working on some super top secret weapon, but we are not using them yet. So in the past, in the recent past, and in the history of the MotoGP, the most winning bike are simple bikes. So the bike has to be, let's say, sane. And I don't know if it's the correct term in English, but in Italian it makes a lot of sense. So the base has to be very good. That's what we are looking for. And then on this good base, you can build a lot of exotic things, but this has to come after.
Hi, Matt Oxley from England. Hi, Matt. Thank you for joining us at the round table. Welcome. Actually, we can't hear you, Matt. I'm sorry. We can't hear your voice. Is there any? Okay, you'll try to connect again. But we can't hear you. Okay, let's go back to Michel then.
Yeah. So Romano, the development has been frozen for at least 1 more year. So as a little company which benefits some concession in this area, do you think that the situation could help Aprilia to catch the leaders?
Well, this change of the regulation due to the COVID situation it will probably be an advantage for us and for the other company which benefits from the concession in the 2021, where we will be free to develop the engine. This is going to be hopefully an advantage on the next season. On this season, we have been penalized because we had the newest engine. The engine was very, very new, and we had done very few testing on this engine, and we have to frozen it. So for us, this season could be critical because we have to deliver the sample engine in these days, and many technical configuration of our engines are still under investigation. So we have to make some bet on some solution and cross the fingers, but it's not an ideal situation for us this year. Hopefully next year it will be much better.
Please, Giovanni.
Romano, have you never thought to a four-line instead of V4? And why you have chosen the V4 for the MotoGP?
Well, you know, Aprilia has an history of V engines from the RSV 1000. We even did the off-road with a V engine. So we are really devoted to do this kind of configuration. Honestly, we never thought of doing anything different from this. And of course, the foreign line has clearly some advantages. In the history of MotoGP, there have been times where people say, okay, the foreign line is over, is finished. And then a few years after, okay, the V4 is the wrong choice. I don't think that one is right and the other is bad. I think it's only a matter of optimizing the configuration you are choosing. So we are fully convinced that the V4 can win, and it's winning actually in the MotoGP, and we are not attracted by different configuration.
Please, Manuel.
Yes, Romano, I'm going to ask you some question I had from Matt, as he's not here. And Matt has a very curious question. He wanted to know about your time working in Cagiva with the 500 as a young engineer. How did you get to Cagiva, and at the end here you are in Aprilia as the project leader?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, it's been I've been a lucky guy, definitely, because I've always been interested to work in racing motorcycle, and I had the opportunity after only 1 year in working in Cagiva to join the racing department. We are talking about, it was in 1991. Mr. Bordi, who was the general manager of the company, asked me, would you be interested to go to the racing department? Oh, well, of course, yes. And it was the time when Eddie Lawson joined Cagiva. So it's been a fantastic period. I've been working there from 91 to 94, so 4 seasons with Eddie, with Doug Chandler, with Kosinski, Alex Barros. Of course, those times were totally different from this time. The total number of people involved in the racing department were about 20, 25 people. And the level of sophistication was very different from now. Now it's another world now. The 4-stroke brought a lot of complexity, and the electronics related to the 4-stroke brought other complexity. So it's something very different. Those times were very romantic times, I would say.
And Romano,
but at the end, the motorcycle is always the motorcycle. The bikes is always unstable. It doesn't turn. It's really too much. It doesn't stop. So from a chassis point of view, the track point of view, many things are remain the same. But of course, the way you approach the problem is totally different now.
Romano, were you engine engineer or chassis engineer? Because normally your base is from one area or another.
I started as a chassis engineer, but then I've been involved in many engine projects. So at this moment, right now, I can say I have a good, let's say, knowledge of both sides, which allows me to manage people that do the real work. Because you normally talk with me, with other people like me, that we are really managers of people that do the work.
How much do you hate electronics?
Yeah, sometimes we joke and say, okay, put a carburetor and let's go. No, it's electronics is a way, is fantastic. It's a way to control. It's the dream of every engineer to be in position to control everything happens on the motorcycle. It's not a very romantic vision point of view, but it's a very engineering one. Now I see that in some club championship or young rider championship trophy, they use data recording, and so this makes me a little bit wow. Are they still enjoying riding? I don't know.
Okay, Manuel, I think Matt, I think you have one of your questions stolen by Manuel.
Yes.
But, okay, we can hear you now, so it's nice to hear your voice. Will you go with another question to Mr. Albesiano?
Sure. Yeah. Sorry, I'm late, everyone. Romano, I wanted, although you've been very busy with the new bike, I want to talk about the new Michelin rear tire, the rear slick, which you would have tested last year sometimes anyway. And it seems to be like a softer construction. It compresses more. What's your feeling about how it changes the way the bike works? Some people say it makes the steering a bit more complicated for some bikes. Turning.
We had the chance to test this tire on Phillip Island. In Phillip Island, you remember that there's been a special session for testing this tire in Phillip Island GP last year, and if you remember, Iannone finished in second position this session with super good feelings. So it's something that on the 2019 bike helped the bike very much. So with this kind of grip level, which is definitely higher than in the past, we are improving our bike in a clear way. The only concern is that in some situation, this extra grip tire can make the chattering behavior worse. This is my personal concern for some track. We suffered on a couple of tracks very much last year from chattering. So this is the point we have to make clear this year. But definitely, in general, is an improvement for us.
Hey, Matt, do you have any other question you want to profit?
Just going back to the Cagiva, I wanted to ask you about Cagiva. It must have been incredibly disappointing because sort of 93, 94 was when the bike was really getting good. Mikuni you were getting good stuff from Mikuni. You were getting good stuff from, I think Ricardo Rosa was working quite hard to get this, that, and everything seemed to be coming. The bike was fantastic in 1994. It was really, Kosinski, he led the world championship. It must have been an incredible disappointment when the project was stopped, just when it was getting really good.
Yeah, definitely. The company had to make this choice at those times. You remember the top category of motorcycle was totally disconnected from the product, from what the company really sold. We also dreamed to make a replica of the 500 to sell the bike for road use, but this was a dream inside the racing department, because we honestly didn't want to stop. But the company had to do this, had to switch to 4-stroke. They did it with the MV Agusta brand. I think for some aspect, they did a fantastic job. I remember the last race. I think it was in Barcelona, 94. I remember the party after the last race, and we saw other people that were celebrating the end of the season, preparing for the new one, and we knew that we were just stopping a great history. That's life. After that, I moved to another job. I moved to an aerodynamic company, and I quit with motorcycle for 3 years. But yes, it was very sad, very sad.
Thank you.
Michel.
Yeah, just to stick on this matter, Romano, we know that at the beginning of the 90s, it was a close link between Cagiva and Yamaha helped Cagiva somewhere. What 30 years later, what could you say about this this link?
Well, I have to say that Claudio Castiglioni was really great in let's say, creating a link not only with the other manufacturers in Japan, but with the supplier in Japan. Because at those times, the Italian network of supply was not ready to supply the top components for those kind of motorcycles. So Claudio created the Cagiva Japan. The Cagiva Japan was a base of Cagiva in Japan, which was managed by Mike Maekawa, which was a former head of Yamaha racing department. I don't remember if he retired and then joined the Cagiva Japan. Anyway, he left Yamaha and joined Cagiva Japan. And based on his relationship with many manufacturers in Japan, he developed a network of suppliers that could support the racing, but also the production in Japan. So that was a key point for the competitivity of the racing bike, but also of the product for that company. That was Claudio's ability to develop relationships in his way, let's say. Very fascinating one.
Romano, looking to the future, we know that I think in 2021 you will have your team, a factory team, not with Gresini. I don't remember if it was 21 or 22.
We have a deal with Fausto to stay in this configuration, including 21. Okay. Then from 22, the plan is to start our own factory team and hopefully have a satellite.
Ecco, so but how much is important to have a your team, a factory team, and how much is important to have 4 bikes on the grid instead of 2?
Well, it's important for me. It's important for some, not for performance, not for what concerns performance or technical aspect, because Fausto, it's been a resource in this year, not a limitation at all. But for a big company like Aprilia, Piaggio is, we believe that the time has come to reach the same status level as the others. So we entered the MotoGP, I don't know the English term, in Italian we say in punta di piedi, no? But now time has come to make a step also on this point. And having 4 bikes is not an easy task, because we have to reinforce all the structure of the racing department. But for sure, the potential of our activity will increase, because you will have more feedback from the riders. The possibility to test young riders on the satellite team and then check them before putting them in the factory team. So, for example, now we have two bikes, 2 riders. If you make a bet on a young rider, it's a big risk. We did it once and it didn't work, and now we are quite scared to do it again. But if you have a satellite team, you can test the young rider and let him mature, let him get mature for the big task. So definitely is an advantage.
Manuel.
Romano, you mentioned that you worked for the aerodynamic company when you left Cagiva. Yep. Have you been able to apply what you learned there on motorcycling aerodynamics, or this is an area very specific?
No, honestly, I was really interested to move to some aerodynamic work, planning one day to come back to motorcycle at a motorcycle company and apply these principles. So that experience gave me a kind of knowledge and understanding of the fact that for sure has helped me in these years when MotoGP has restarted. Your question was: is there a specific concept that you can take from cars and apply to MotoGP or to motorcycles in general? There is one I can say, because it's let's say is on the magazines. For example, the radiator, the cooling system of a motorcycle is still a not optimal one from many point of view. So the dream of every people that had a look on a car cooling system is to apply this kind of system on a motorcycle. We have tried. We have also made a patent for this. It's still not real, but one day we hope to be able to do something in this area, which will improve the efficiency, which means reducing the drag, reducing the lift. This is the concept that we can apply. And then, of course, the wings are common on cars. So you have, if you work on cars, you make some knowledge, you build some knowledge regarding wings, and then you can apply to. And this is what we did in the recent years in MotoGP.
Romano, you said that. What's so special about the car cooling system then? What are you trying to, in the way it's designed, the way it works?
The car cooling system is basically the radiator is included in a tunnel, which takes the air which is necessary for cooling and no more, and it doesn't disturb or deviate any other flow, that is not used afterwards for the cooling. It's not easy to explain, but I remember when I was studying at the university, I studied aeronautics engineering. I remember that when the professor was teaching us about the cooling system of you remember the Mustang P-51, the Second World War. You remember they had this cooler underneath the body of the airplane, underneath the fuselage, and that was that kind of a cooling system created a thrust. Sorry. So if you do the optimal cooling system, you get a performance, not a drag, but a thrust. Okay, this is a super optimal condition that you can never apply on a motorcycle probably, but definitely is possible. We expected that it's possible to do something better than what they are. That what is the conventional motorcycle cooling system. One day, maybe one day.
Matt, we
can't hear you.
Matt, we lost your voice again. Okay, Michel, I think you have the last question before letting Mr. Albesiano go.
Yes, Romano, we spoke a lot about technical because you are in charge of that. Let's speak to end this conversation about riders. What's going on with Andrea Iannone? We all are waiting for an announcement, or so. What will be the lineup of Aprilia in 2020, but also in 2021? Because you have to renew. You have already a new Aleix, but you need to find a second rider. So what could you tell us?
First of all, I have to say that this situation has really disturbed us, and it's been a big problem. We have worked years to build a lineup of riders strong as we had now, and then this crazy situation happen and destroy the part of this work. Anyway, we are waiting for we are waiting to know. We trust Andrea. We believe in him, and our plan is to confirm him from the future. This is our target, and hopefully we can do it. Okay, of course we are taking some risk following this plan, but this is our plan. Then for let's say specific question about riders, you should ask Massimo Rivola, because he is doing this management. But I'm quite sure I can tell you this.
But Bradley Smith will replace Andrea until we know what's going on with him.
Yes, definitely this year, 2020, with the present state of the things, Bradley will do the second rider of Aprilia team.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all, guys. Any more questions? Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Albesiano. Very good season for you and Aprilia. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I see Giovanni Zamagni, Michel Turco, Matt Oxley, and Manuel Pessino next week for another episode of Roundtable. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Adios,
Bye.
adios.
Ciao, grazie Romano, ciao.